Hello, welcome back everyone to Awaken Hidden Truth with Scott Lemriel. Hello, Mr. Lemriel.
Hello, Perry. So we're doing another one of these radio shows that maybe a lot of people on Earth are not even aware they exist yet or how they really work. And people just tuning into some of them when they go on these guided journeys outside of Earth, out of their bodies, out into the universe to explore what beings are capable of doing, but they don't know they're capable of it on Earth. They have no, they're, most people are terrified of life on other worlds, other dimensions. They don't understand, they don't remember that when this body they have passes away, they have to go somewhere else. And it's not on Earth, and they have to be, in order to be advanced, they need to understand just how big life is in the universe that is represents the God they worship. It's not just about life on this one little planet. People keep themselves stupid and really dumbed down on Earth because their belief systems keep them from loving a bigger universe. There's a lot of life out in the universe. Much of it is human and much of it is not. And these have atmas or souls running bodies all over the universe. Once Earth people start to connect to that kind of heaven, life on this world will change dramatically, not before. Fear of the unknown is the biggest roadblock or obstacle in the way of people remembering who they are, meaning remembering what they knew before they were born here, before their memory was shut down deliberately. How do you recover a memory billions of years old? People blab all day long about this word called soul, that they have a soul and it's going to heaven. They haven't got a clue what it is, what it looks like, where it is. They think it's the body and that somewhere there's a soul tucked away in their body somewhere. That's what most people think. That's backwards. They are a spherical energy being running a body. Until that memory is recovered, they cannot make any progress. And they live their lives in fear and terror of the present and the future. They are controllable this way. So if people want to get free of that, and they want governments to change and religions to become enlightened and not fighting each other, then the individuals that make up the citizenry of this planet have to let go of fear. This is mostly subconscious, implanted fear that influences their nervous system and their daily lives to make decisions that aren't the best decisions they can make, and they're heading into a negative direction. There are massive numbers of beings not from Earth that do not live this way, human included, that don't have subconscious minds. They don't have the way people are brainwashed or brought up on Earth, because it's like the blind leading the blind. Governments and religions don't know what they're teaching people to believe in. They believe in it, but they don't have the experience they need to actually respect a greater God. Like the one that runs billions of galaxies on multiple dimensions. Until people can do that, they're not really in touch with divine spirit as they think. Because the best way to work with what they call divine spirit, omnipresent living power that supports everything, is telepathic. That's not psychic. It is a pure form of communication between beings and the source behind all life. And that has nothing to do with bodies and brains and nervous systems and DNA. It has to do with the energy being we are that runs that. Many races out among the stars that travel the stars understand this. They know how to work with that energy that's out there between planets and moons and suns and stars and galaxies. It appears black. It's just gigantic. It's vastly more large than the little galaxies that float in it. Lots of black space, but that is a pure energy. It's a living energy. It's a conscious energy. It's an omnipresent energy, meaning it's everywhere. It's saturated between everything that floats in it, like planets and moons and suns and stars and galaxies and different dimensional levels. And it supports all of that, good or bad, right or wrong, however people imagine, it works with them. If people imagine a terrible fear of the present and future, that's what's brought to them. If people learn how to set that aside and imagine constructive, uplifting things for all life, That's what comes into their life. Even for people on Earth, even if the masses of people on Earth don't want to cooperate with this, the individuals that do are in a sense protected and moved outside of those influences. Because on Earth, everything that's ever been done to people, by people, and to animals, and to life and the ecology in millions of years on this planet is recorded in wavelengths or frequencies that bounce off the ionosphere and are kept within the atmosphere of this planet. They don't go outside it. So if people are surrounded and saturated by that stuff, it influences from outside when they let it in, decisions they make. So more advanced and enlightening consciousness of people, the first step is to become aware about how we should use the creative imagination to set ourselves free and to help the world transform. Without that, it will not change. So the creative imagination that I speak of is not a fantasy made up in a brain. I've mentioned this many times, but it bears repeating because people do not really understand this on Earth yet. When they imagine something or they're daydreaming, none of that is coming from their brain at all. The brain and the nerve system, the neurons in the brain don't do that. They're not for visualizing, a motion picture camera and projecting it on a movie screen so they can see stuff they imagine. They don't realize that something else, not the brain or body that's running the body, is doing the imagining. And imagination in that sense is actually seeing into this one omnipresent living energy that's everywhere and communicating with it directly. That's when life really changes for an individual on Earth. At that point. So we go into this first half of the word human, which is Hu, H-U. And it's sounded out as a round hole tone simply because it opens a door through the pineal gland, the center of the brain, that leads to other realities. It opens a door so people can put the body into the trance state we call sleep, which they do every night anyway, just like masters. But they have no upbringing to help them bring back awareness of where they're going when they go out of their body every night, when they put the body on automatic, which is a function of the pineal gland that secretes serotonin, which makes melatonin, and puts the body and runs it automatic when you're gone. Now, if people were trained this way from birth, they would have no problem with any of this. They would know about the life that exists in this universe because they would be in touch with it. So people on Earth have the ability to be in touch with it, but they have a terrible time believing it or experiencing it because they're taught just to believe in something on faith. Faith is a good place to start, but it's a terrible place to end up because faith, properly put out, should lead to experience. And experience makes people confident knower. They get beyond belief into real direct experience with the thing they worship. Most people are terrified to meet that. They're terrified to meet what they call the supreme being in a higher dimension because they feel guilty or ashamed or something, and they think they're going to get a pitchfork and sent to hell if they're not just the right kind of piety and just the right kind of good. This has nothing to do with the source or how it views us as individuals. That was made up by men and tyrant kings on Earth and by beings on other worlds who imported it to Earth to keep people controlled, as slaves generally. So this kind of thing that was done on this planet, and people don't know this in the UFO and extraterrestrial communities yet. They don't. What was done 25 years ago, abductions by little grays, a few reptilians on the planet, it's all gone. They're not here anymore. They were escorted out of this solar system, but not by our militaries, not by people on Earth. That was done as a kindness by beings from elsewhere. So the negative effects of the influence of such beings on people on Earth is still here. It's some kind of subconscious programming. And so that stuff can be neutralized. One of the ways to start the process of being in touch with this omnipresent living power that people pray to all the time is by making the conscious imagination of their ability to see into it conscious. They need to know this is what they're doing for it to really be effective. Because then this thing they pray to begins to respond to them like they're a maturing adult, spiritual adult. and it can teach them and protect them and enlighten them and take them further. The first act of any person is to make contact with it. Books on earth don't do this. Religions don't do it. Governments won't do it, that are made up of people in those religions. You see the problem. So people only have on earth a way of looking at the potential of life elsewhere from an earth perspective, which is extremely limited and very much misdirected in almost every way. For instance, people on earth don't realize they're a spherical shaped energy being that they call soul, and that it's an actual, has a shape and structure to it, and has a relationship with the source behind all life through this medium that is everywhere. More advanced races out among the stars know how to work with an energy that is mostly everywhere the little galaxies float in. That energy is non-nuclear, non-atomic. There's no atoms in it. There's no molecules. It is an energy behind all things that's before those things were created. So more advanced races understand how to work with that energy respectfully, and then they make great advances. They get ships that can be powered by it and go faster than this concept of the limit of speed of light that people on Earth are ignorant about. They only made that determination because their physical eyes can only detect it at a certain rate, even with electronic instruments. But there is no limit to it. There's really no limit to the speed of light at all. So when people on Earth begin to become aware of how this works, that energy out there that supports everything is what people call divine spirit. They call it divine because that's how they've been taught, but they don't really understand it. They don't have a direct, real relationship with it. And they should. So in more advanced Earth, in order for it to change away from being self-destructive and join races out among the stars and become much more enlightened and evolved, can be acquired when beings from there can bring that technology and awareness here for free at no charge, no money. This has already been offered to governments here by those big organizations of world systems out there and turned down out of fear, especially after World War II. But that's not meant to be permanent. Sooner or later, sooner than later at this point, disclosure of the knowledge of life in other worlds that certain very highly classified people have has to be disclosed to the mass of people on this planet. It's become required, not by people on Earth. I try to make this point clear to people. They just don't get it because they don't have a reality on life beyond Earth. They're limited to just their own little backyard. When people on Earth don't even respect each other, much less life anywhere else. So how do you bring a higher heaven of people, so to speak, out there among the stars to Earth? How do you do that on a global scale so this planet can go in a new direction and not be destroyed self-destructively? That is something that has been worked out among the stars. So what is underway now, even the Pentagon in the United States is now starting to disclose and admit extraterrestrials are there. They're doing it very carefully, very slowly, but they're engaged in doing that because they have been informed that they must do this or other beings from other worlds will do it for them. And if it's done for them, it'll put those leaders on Earth in a very bad light to the populace here for having lied to them all this time. So it's being done in a way where these two energies of disclosure between governments and religions and these people from other worlds, much more advanced, can do it in a non-destructive way. I mean, people went nuts just from COVID, hoarded toilet paper and paper towels until there was a shortage worldwide that didn't exist. Could have brought the whole society down just from that. So how do you get people to be aware of more advanced human life, far more advanced than here? They know this thing they call divine spirit and the source much better than people on Earth, and they do. How do you bring that here if people are so conceited and arrogant and vain and brainwashed that they can't allow this bigger God into their lives? See my point? This is what this work is about. It has no other purpose for existing on this planet than to make a transformation take place on this world. That's why I'm here. That's why the people I associate with from other worlds are doing what they're doing. And I don't care if people believe it or not. It's not important to me. because the energy that comes through this work can change lives. I don't worry about how it does this for each individual because it knows full well how to do it. There's kind of like a new consciousness existing in this thing people call divine spirit that was not there before, which can actually change the way the lower worlds of time and space, the old failed experiment of good and evil, is being retired. It has to be replaced by something that works, something else. So this is underway. And it's already well established off-world in amongst the stars. And Earth is next. The mechanism, devices, and things that are required to bring about a non-destructive transformation to people on this Earth is already underway. There are things on Earth now that people don't know about. I'd say the highest classified people know there are certain pyramids on this planet now, the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. You can't blow them up. Lasers won't affect them. They're solid looking, but you can't do anything to them. And they're turned on. So they have a purpose for being here. It is not to take over the Earth or run governments. Nobody outside of Earth wants to do that, except a few tyrant races. And they have been prevented from doing that, or they'd already done it. So all the craft and ships and things that have come to this Earth ever since people on Earth started setting off nuclear devices, big explosions in our atmosphere, it sends out waves, pulsing waves that are felt and detected on other worlds. So they came here because they're worried we're going to blow ourselves up, and that could have a negative effect on them and on the solar system. So they started coming here. Not all were good that came here. There was a treaty situated 500,000 years ago out in space at the end of a great war that made Earth like a Switzerland. No one race was allowed to dominate it, but many races were allowed to have little colonies here. So Earth has been given not a fair playing field like other worlds. And also because of what happened in the solar system history, the poles of Earth's, the actual poles would flip over 180 degrees overnight every 100,000 years, just like clockwork, destroying all life on the surface, raising new ocean lands from the oceans and sinking the ones that were there. Tectonic plates would just break up. It's a very violent affair. It's 24 hours. So then you get your ice age and all this other stuff out of that, but it's not a slow process at all. When classified people in Russia and the United States jointly did experimentation with oil technology during Daytona under Gorbachev and Reagan, they found, and by drilling deep core samples into the Earth, that at a certain depth, universally around the planet, in the deepest places on Earth, that the poles of the planet were going 180 degrees opposite, roughly between 80 and 120,000 years ago. And then they found out it was cyclic, so they classified it, put a cap on it, took it out of the fact it was even on like Channel 4 and TV News Network when it first came out. But then they classified it because they didn't understand it and they knew it could wipe out all life and they couldn't do anything about it. So they classified it. It goes into the revelation of extraterrestrials as well. They classified that as well. That's all well and good to get people to rebuild a damaged and destroyed world after World War II and become baby boomers and feel safe to have babies and repopulate and rebuild, which is why 35 countries decided to classify it. But it's been being done too long, for too many years. It's just a bad habit now. So beings on Earth, certain governments have been approached and told that there's going to be a full disclosure here, whether they want it or not. It's been taken out of the free will choice of leaders on Earth because they have abused free will and free choice too much. And it will end in the annihilation of all life on this Earth. You don't need a nuclear war to destroy life on this planet. The way it's being polluted, it would happen anyway. So 7.5 billion people, unconscious, polluting everything thoughtlessly, it's not going to work. There's no future for people on Earth this way. There's no Star Trek in the future for the way people are here. They'll destroy this place and never get there. I would say out of an enlightened kindness and also a change in consciousness in people, in beings and from other worlds that would not interfere previously, they are now. Because what happens on Earth can negatively affect them, and they're not going to tolerate that. We don't have a right as a mass of people on Earth to destroy ourselves and harm life we don't even know exists. We do not have that right. We will never be given that right. And the sooner people on Earth become aware of this, the better off we'll be. This choice of destroying ourselves has been taken out of the hands of people on Earth because they would destroy it. There's no question about it. So disclosure has to come about with the cooperation of governments cooperating to do it, if it's going to be a non-destructive disclosure. And this takes quite a bit of change in the people that run things right now. A lot of people in those classified arenas, certain government people, really want this to happen too. They have some conflict with certain people in those groups that are afraid to do it, but the momentum is building to get it done. People on Earth cannot solve all these problems they have created by themselves without first being destroyed. This is known by beings out among the stars. Galactic history bears this out. It's not a question of whether or not we would destroy ourselves here. The way things are headed, that would happen. Life would be gone on this planet. And you know what would happen after it settles down? They'll just recolonize it. People would lose their bodies in mass, and then they'd have to go somewhere and get another body. It doesn't end with the death of a body. Never has, never will. I would have to say that when people on Earth finally discover, when they feel secure enough not to be terrified of it, that they are a type of being that, and always has been a type of being that cannot be destroyed if their body is killed. The progress of dramatic change, technologically, spiritually, in every way on this planet will be just unbelievable, the rate at which it can happen. But it's going to require the assistance of many races from the stars helping this to happen, because they don't want, and they're not going to tolerate, Russia and China and the United States going out among the stars, ego tripping their brains out, thinking they're going to go out and fight for the spoils of other planets. That will never, ever take place, because space, what they're trying to go out and bring all this negative crap and fear of each other out there, is already occupied by far more advanced races. And believe me when I tell you, they will not tolerate that. So they've placed the solar system we live in under quarantine, not to suppress people or control governments, not to come here and blow up cities and take over, but to prevent us from being destructive out among the stars. We'll never be allowed to have that kind of a future, because the bigger God out there is not going to tolerate it. I try to make this clear. I try to tell people the truth about what this is, how it's going about. If they want to blow this world up, it would not hurt the rest of the universe one bit. If life ended on this planet, that's just life on one planet. There are trillions of them. So people lose their bodies. Most of the mammalian and plant life and people that are brought from different races didn't evolve here in the first place. There's no such thing as a planet with one atmosphere evolving the different races you see here under one sun. That's quite impossible. That means that people that are on Earth today came from different world systems, some with 2 or 3 suns, binary and trinary, that affects the change. And it could be slanted eyes or different hair, aboriginal, whether it's African American, what people call it, or Caucasian or Semitic or whatever. These are all humans that evolved in different sun systems or were brought here in a history that people on Earth have no idea whatsoever ever existed. And that history goes back 65 million years approximately to the time the big dinosaurs were wiped out, deliberately wiped out, so they could begin to make this world a place for humans to evolve. And it was good on paper. But look at what 7.5 billion people or so are doing in their governments and religions right now on this planet. Most of them are trying to blow this place up like they did other worlds and end life here so they can go to some heaven they think they're going to go to when there's an Armageddon. The worlds and the higher realities do not work this way. Doesn't matter what people believe. They cannot go to higher heavens being immature, spoiled little brats, fighting over the spoils of material goods and playing the games they're playing now, which means that when they die, they're recycled. What does that mean? It means they're compelled to go into bodies again with no memory. No one escapes this. You can't escape it except through cooperating with this one power. Because once that starts, it's not reversible at all. When a person starts to head back to the place they came from before they were found themselves in a body unconscious here, that's a one-way ticket. And all the suppressed subconscious stuff that keeps them stuck here begins to be neutralized. It's practical. So when we go on these journeys, and the reason they're done is to provide, by example, one of the many ways that people can have their body go to sleep on automatic and they can consciously leave and go into out-of-body travel, not as another body that looks like, it's not astral travel. It's not like an astral body that looks like the physical body that goes traveling, because that form that people are running there in a higher dimension remains in that plane. But as the spherical energy we are, just like planets and moons and suns and stars are round, they were made in the image of their creators. So the source behind all life is spherical. It's not a being. It's not a man with a big beard and a big throne somewhere up there. No. Beings like that run whole dimensions, run dimensions below what is called the void. And the void is a barrier of energy, pure energy, between the upper realities and the lower planes of time and space. And down in those worlds, the energy that's one energy splits into a dual current, positive and negative, to create form to experience, for beings to experience bodies and things down here. It's supposed to be like the yin and yang symbol, where the two teardrops are circling around each other in harmony, positive and negative, black and white, with another golden white light around it that keeps it this way. People who are doing this, their consciousness is split in half. They're sending out fear and desperation and uncertainty and doubt about the present and future. And they're sending out, I want abundance. I want a good family. I want this love. The two are in conflict. And they neutralize each other in time space. It goes out from their consciousness when they send this out. And it tells this one power to produce both good and positive and negative effects in their lives. And that's what they experience on this planet. Because of ignorance, because they're afraid to remember. It's the fear of being afraid to remember that keeps people here. They don't even remember what that fear is about. So they're going to need help and assistance from more advanced beings to let go of that fear if they want to advance. So disclosure isn't a matter of if. That's already been decided. And it is officially underway, even from the Pentagon in the United States. If you have the eyes and ears to see and know this stuff, you will see where disclosure has taken place and where it's happening. Project Blue Book was put out about Jay Hynek's work, who was an astrophysicist hired by the Air Force in the 50s, to find rational reasons for why people were seeing ships from other planets or being abducted and all this. So he was hired to come up with rational excuses or reasons why they weren't extraterrestrial, but they're some kind of natural phenomena. The problem with that is, during his investigations, he experienced a whole lot more than any of that. And while he was alive, he was not allowed to talk to anybody about what he really experienced because it was classified. But after he died, the diaries of what he really went through were made into Project Blue Book. Ran for 2 years. The last episode really reveals a great deal about disclosure. And then the Pentagon shut that whole thing down because people were writing over toilet paper and paper towels from COVID. So they said we were going too fast. They backed it off. There wasn't any reason to close it down. It was a successful TV series. They had episodes written for the next, I think, year or two anyway. And it was shut down from A&E that owns the History Channel. Project Blue Book was put out as history, not science fiction. That is part of disclosure, one of the smaller aspects of it. So if you become aware of what beings from other worlds are doing about this planet, and they are, then it really is very relieving not to be afraid of nuclear war, not to be afraid of aliens coming here and bombing cities, not to be afraid of life itself or what happens when the body dies. Because people that are free of the fear that governs them now subconsciously already know what they are. That isn't the physical body, it never has been. They know how to communicate with beings from other worlds who have physical bodies, come here in chips and get out of their bodies and know how to do this. Common sense. When we go on one of these journeys, Perry, before I start one, did you want to ask any questions or go anywhere before we go into one of these journeys?
No, it's okay. It's good.
When I'm speaking and we're recording this, it's put up on Perry's YouTube channel so anybody on Earth can find them. The journeys we do for the radio show are public. The journeys we do in a private group I guide is not. It's not on the internet. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Facebook. But it really helps a few people recover a lot more about who and what they are. And those people will become a channel of an energy coming into Earth that helps change things. There's a lot of beings from out among the stars involved in this. When I work with the first half of the word human, understand this. Languages on Earth did not evolve here. Period. They changed over time, dialects, but they didn't get created here. Governments that had tyrant kings on this planet did not get created here. It was imported to this planet. The history people are taught in schools here is all about tyrant races. Egyptian tyrant kings and queens, Roman tyrant Caesars, Mayan and Aztec who would do sacrifice and cut people's hearts out. This is the stuff you hear about. Ancient Sumerian, which was a reptilian mining colony, and very much controlled in that they weren't allowed to dominate the whole world, and then it was over. So Earth has not been, it's not been in a situation where some tyrant race could come here and take over. That should be clear to anybody. I mean, if they wanted to do that and were allowed to do it, it had already been done. So when people out of fear would try to use advanced reverse engineered weaponry to shoot down ships from the stars, they're stupid if they're still doing it. Very stupid. They've never been retaliated against, never been shot at in reverse. And it should have taught people here that they're not here to take over. They're not here to destroy things, even though people have tried to destroy them. Some of the things a few races did back 25 years ago were not very nice to people on Earth. But that kind of thing is no longer being done here. The negative effects are still in people on Earth, the fear. And that is the thing that needs to be reversed here, neutralized. Because then people running bodies on Earth would have the ability to accept people from other worlds. Then we can get replicators, and we can get cures for all diseases. People can live 1,000 years or two. And people won't overpopulate the Earth because they'll be aware. And they'll have the example set by beings who have done this and harmonized their worlds, hundreds of millions of them. And we would have the advantage of being able to learn from them how to do this properly, how to be free of subconscious fears, because they have the technology to remove it. It's just not on Earth yet. Okay. Languages, as they are on Earth, did not evolve here. It doesn't matter what you're taught in a university or colleges. That's a very limited history. Back 10,000 years, maybe. It's nothing. The people teaching it haven't been taught anything more, so how can they teach anything different? The races represented on Earth did not evolve here. They were brought here in a history so far long ago that it would make people's heads spin right off if they really suddenly understood just how ancient the universe is and how ancient they are. even running the body they have in this life. They have no idea. They don't remember. And they're terrorized to not remember. So that's two things. There is a real galactic history and the one you're taught. There is a real solar system history and the one you're taught, which teaches you nothing about what life has been here on what planets millions of years ago. How did the asteroid field get between Mars and Jupiter, circling at high speed in the orbit of a planet? Roughly twice the distance between Mars and Jupiter than other planets. It was a planet that was blown apart in a history farther back than any recorded history on Earth. And that affected how the poles of Earth work. Destroyed the atmosphere on Mars, different things like this. Now, if people were taught this history and their relationship with beings out among the stars and that they came from the stars, they would understand they are extraterrestrial themselves to this planet. They didn't originate here. That means they're extraterrestrial in nature. Beings from other worlds understand this. Many of the people unconscious in bodies on Earth are relatives of theirs. There's a whole thing underway now that can reunite the unconscious people on Earth with where they really came from. That is part of what real full disclosure is all about. And that's underway, and it cannot be reversed by any power on Earth. Period. So Earth people are going to have to grow up very quickly in ways they don't see coming. They won't expect it. But it has to be done in a way that allows them to do this and keep a balanced life. That's the real challenge. People on Earth cannot do this on their own. It's a good thing they're not alone in the universe, and that the amount of life that's out there in the multiverse on many dimensions from many galaxies is very real and more enlightened generally than we are on Earth. They don't even use money. It's outlawed. So they wouldn't come here and charge us for replicators or cures for diseases. That isn't how they operate. Earth people would love to be living like that. But for them to do it, they have to be like that. That's not possible as long as subconscious implanted programs that are fear-driven are driving their decision-making on Earth as they are now. That too is changing. When I send out the hue to begin one of these journeys, what we're really doing is simple. This is telepathic, not psychic. This means it is a pure form of communication between spherical beings, the real you, the real me, and the real omnipresent power that supports everything. And that pure form of communication doesn't have anything to do with atoms, molecules, DNA, psychic this, psychic that, weapons, or anything destructive. It is the energy below or behind all that, and the two don't mix. So when I send out the hue, it's vibrating a doorway in the pineal gland, kind of opens a doorway so that the being that you are, that I am, can experience the body go into the eyes closed, kind of go to sleep, like you put it to sleep every night, except because of my voice and the way this is working, you get to stay conscious and go and see what it is I'm describing. And that is actually out-of-body journeying into that omnipresent power, going to other worlds, going to higher dimensions, because people do it anyway, but they're completely ignorant and afraid of bringing back the awareness of what they're doing because they've been terrorized somewhere along the line. So when I send this out, it's creating a doorway between where we're going and Earth. We start our journeys generally by having you imagine being above your body near the ceiling looking down on it. People do it all the time. It's called daydreaming. They think they're making it up in their brain. They could be looking out a parking lot out of a, like say, a classroom, and they're bored, the teacher's boring, and they're just imagining being on the ski trip or going somewhere that weekend, and their eyes are seeing the parking lot, light from the parking lots coming to their eyes from Earth. But they're imagining something that has nothing to do with what they're seeing from their eyes. This is the first step to understand how imagination really works. Imagination is not made up in the brain. It's the being running a body without the awareness of it, seeing into the universe someplace else. Which also means that when people write stories, major films and screenplays and all this in books, they go into a kind of a trance state without realizing it. They're so impassioned to write what they're seeing. They're writing down what they're actually seeing. But they don't realize that's what they're doing. No one on earth is ever trained in one lifetime to write things like some of the biggest hit feature films that have been out there. I won't name names, but everybody knows what they are. And the writers are actually seeing what they're writing about taking place somewhere, either in another galaxy far away or in a parallel dimension on Earth. Because there are parallel dimensions of different molecular time rates that exist within the physical universe before you even get to the next heaven, which we call the astral plane. And people out knowing the stars that are more advanced understand how to circumnavigate between these things. They have the technology. So Earth people could also enjoy this incredible wonder, but not before they're capable of working with it properly and in a respectful manner towards each other and all life beyond Earth. That is required. When people on Earth find this out, there's more full disclosure. The world will change and we won't be on our own to do it. Beings will come here, they'll land. They'll help make these transitions. They'll neutralize the negative thought forms in the atmosphere, neutralize the pollution on the planet, provide technologies that doesn't allow us to pollute anything anymore. Yes, such technology exists. It's ancient. It's not new. How old is the galaxy? How old is our sun? Billions of years old. There are races out there that mastered this stuff long ago without destroying themselves. It would behoove all of us on Earth to listen to them and get some kind advice, because they don't look down on us. They see that people on Earth are unconscious about who they once knew they were. And this has to be recovered in people on this planet. It has to be. When you're sitting in a chair, which I recommend you do, or lying on a bed or on the ground, you close your eyes because that shuts off that part of the brain that takes light in from your eyes. The ears, you can still hear things outside going on, but when you close your eyes, you're already in the first stage of sleep. The body is, not you. People that have been brainwashed and taught on Earth that when they go to sleep, they don't remember anything and dreams are made up in the brain, create their own trap. Goes out into this omnipresent power and tells it, trap me here like this. So it does. Because we are co-creators with this omnipresent living power, this one power. And it'll support whatever we do. However, that too is changing. There'll be a time when it will not support us to create this way. It won't support it anymore. So part of the energy that's coming into the Earth now in our solar system has to do with making that change. And it's never happened before in hundreds of billions of years. The universe is just very large. 144 parallel dimensions. There's a specific number in the physical universe. There's a barrier, and then it goes into a higher molecular time rate of another 144. Heavens, if you will. Although they're not all peaceful. And then you go into another one, and another one, and another one, until you get to what certain esoteric groups on Earth call a void. Some groups think that's God. It's not. It's a pure energy of the hue that's a barrier between the lower planes of time and space, where the one energy splits into two currents. I explained this. And the energies of the upper realities, where heaven is, that is pure positive. There's no negative nature there whatsoever. Things are being done in that upper reality now to change the way the lower realities are run without destroying them. When I tell you in ancient galactic history that all the lower universes of time and space were destroyed, dissolved away, and beings were brought up across that void, then it was rebuilt and they were sent back. This was done several times already. And each time it was done, nothing really changed. And where Earth people are right now is proof that nothing's been changed, which is intended to be done to make people change. What people call evil and good worked so well as an experience in lower worlds, it trapped people into habits until they forgot they weren't even a body. They haven't been returning to where they came from, which is part of our destiny. We are meant to be co-creators with the source behind all life, not co-worshippers of it, co-creators with it, because the energy that makes up each individual, what people call soul, is made of the same energy as the source itself, identical. So it has the same potential to know itself and respect the source and work in harmony to change things even further than they are right now in creation, for the better. When I send out the hue, it prepares the way for you to be able to hear my voice. It's really the channel of the hue omnipresently through me because I cooperate in harmony with it. Simple. So this one greater power, way beyond me, is unlimited wisdom. And it too is changing now in certain kinds of ways. It's beginning to make its presence known, what this change is, to races out among the stars and eventually to people on Earth. It's already moving through our solar system and through the core of the planet upward and back into space. This cannot be reversed. There's no weapon or government or anything whatsoever that exists on Earth that can do anything with it whatsoever. It's almost like it takes a form of matter and is situated on Earth, but it's of a higher energy and it's not matter that can be tampered with. It's the best way of putting it. When people go and play among the stars, they're going to have to report. Eventually they're going to have to tell people on Earth that they're finding pyramids stationed between asteroids belts, stable asteroid belts, asteroids in the asteroid field, and they are existing now between stars. They are a kind of device. They are not something that people on Earth can mess with. They don't attack. They're not weapons. They are devices. And they're meant to help change things without allowing people to destroy things. So I try to bring this to the table of people's awareness, as difficult as it is. Because for people to remember and know things for themselves, they first have to set fear aside. It's an artificially constructed emotion implanted in people long ago. It's not meant to be permanent, and it does get dissolved in the evolution of a being on their way into what we call mastery. Mastery has to do with, let's put it this way, everybody on Earth is master of certain things and have forgotten everything else. They know how to leave their bodies, they know how to run a body, and they're not a body, but they don't remember any of this. That's a problem. So unconsciously, they're able to do this very sophisticated thing, like run a nervous system and a body for a time, but they don't recall that they're doing it. This process begins to help people recover that awareness. So I'll begin those hues now. As long as fear is in the way of this hue when you do it, you will not experience change or progress. So a form of meditation, contemplation, or the practice of stilling yourself, closing your eyes, and sending out the hue to get help beyond yourself shuts down these fears, brings a blissful state within you, a serenity of being, and then you can make the progress you seek. Fear does not mix with enlightenment or freedom. They don't mix. This sound vibrates the head or cranium upward, not the lower energy centers, not the power center, not what people call the heart center, upward only. So it's basically vibrating the center of the core of your being that is spherical running a body. Then it's connecting into the source itself, the source energy. This is what it does. The first sound behind all creation is actually audible, but not with human ears. When you hear it, it sounds like you're hearing it with your ears. Very grounded, very audible, very real. It can sound like a humming sound in the background, the crashing of ocean waves on a beach, or roaring thunder, gentle and pervasive under your feet. It can have the sound of a high note of a flute, or tinkling crystal chimes or bells, ringing, constant tone, or the humming of billions of bees like a hum very high up. These sounds, this first word behind creation, is the sound emanation of this first energy. First word is not a written word. It is a presence of omnipresent energy that emits both a sound and visible light to the Atma that can see and hear it. I'm not talking about the brain and body now. Sometimes when we go into the hue, people will begin to hear a humming in the background, look around, they realize the refrigerator is not on. It's not coming from the physical universe. This becomes practical experience for people when they first directly, consciously connect with and communicate with what they call divine spirit. It's really quite beyond that concept. It is an omnipresent living power that supports the entire creation, and we're all part of it. We are meant to become enlightened to the point where we become conscious co-creators with it, which means that we begin to choose a free will under discipline to use our imagination to create only those things which are of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth. All of it. Humans on Earth don't think they have the capability to understand this stuff. Well, the human brain and body and what it can learn in one lifetime doesn't have the ability to understand it. But you, the being running the body, does. Imagine being near the ceiling where you live. Hopefully your eyes are closed so you're shut off the physical eyes and you're looking with a deeper inner third eye, which is a spherical being, has a white core. It's on the cover of a book that is published, one of my 4 books, called The Emerald Doorway, part of the Parallel Time Trilogy. And what soul really looks like is very beautiful. It's right on the front cover. A white core, a layer of yellow light around it, and a thickness with teardrop-shaped faculties. This is all light and sound, not physical matter. Then it goes into a more orange area, and then a more red area, then a green, then a blue, then a violet, lavender. A being called an Atma or soul, not the human body, has an energy field around it that is made of the energy that's out in the universe. Same thing. All that black area between planets is not black. Human eyes see it as black because human eyes can't detect the higher frequency. But when you're out of your body looking at it, not with your physical eyes because they're shut down, you see it as a white golden light everywhere. When you look down in your body from the ceiling, you can see right through your house, your home, wherever you are. And you are glowing. You are lighting up the area around you. When you visualize yourself being at a mile high in the atmosphere, doesn't matter whether it's night or day where you are, everything will appear as if it's daylight because you are lighting it up. And when you do this, you can look around you and you can see yourself hovering near the ceiling above your body, both places simultaneously. Because an Atma is a multidimensional capable being, one individual. Remember when I stated that Earths and planets and moons and suns and stars are round, that circle in a circle around the center of a galaxy, for instance? It's because they are made in the image of their creators. And that image is not one of these. This is not what the source behind all life looks like. It isn't the human body. It is in the image of the sphere, which is the same image as the source. For most people, when they begin to understand this, life changes for them in quite dramatic ways. You can imagine being out in space above Earth. That's right, you. Your body's asleep. It's in a trance state. It's on automatic. You do it every night anyway. So you're just daydreaming this. Remember how effortless is daydreaming is for all of you on Earth? How you just idly imagine something like, oh, I want to go to the store and get a biscuit. So you imagine going to the store. Then you get in the car, turn the key, and go there. Without the imagination being there first, we don't go anywhere or do anything. It precedes all action. So you can be in space as a spherical energy being that's not made of atoms or molecules. You don't get cold or hot. You don't feel radiation from the sun. And you can be in a circle of beings. Perry and I are there. There is an ambassador, a human ambassador from vast world systems far beyond this galaxy. His name is Ambassador Torellian. And when they had physical bodies, they were human. They did not evolve in the Milky Way galaxy or Andromeda. They were responsible long ago in galactic history for evolving younger DNA forms like human and others into a higher nervous system that the Atma, the real you and me, had the ability to run higher faculties of wisdom through such forms. And they brought certain races up to spacefaring capability and vanished long ago. About 1 billion years ago, they evolved the ability to dematerialize the molecules and the DNA that make up their bodies and store it in one of the teardrops I talked about, just in the next layer, outside the white core, in the yellow layer. So when they want to manifest a body, like the one he's showing all of you, which I'll describe in a moment, he's actually drawing from the omnipresent power. It fills this DNA and manifests a form for you to see. The real Torellian is a big sphere of light like you, hovering above that form in space. But he's showing you an energy form that looks like what his body looked like back on his home world over 1 billion years ago. And if you'll notice, you are a sphere hovering in a circle around him, And you have a body form that looks like you, that appears to be about 36, a young adult, perfectly healthy, flawless in every way, dressed nicely, strong, built, beautiful, handsome, perfect. This is the real image you have when you meet other beings to show them who you are. It's a pure energy form that looks like a physical human body, but it isn't. Turellian is standing 18 feet tall because the Say race, human race, were much, much taller than people on Earth. And so he looks like a Greek god. He looks like he has long, slightly flowing blonde hair to his shoulders, big crystal blue, clear eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf, in a Greek-like gown with his bare feet. And he's standing there with his two thumbs up, and there's a golden sphere of energy around his thumbs. And it's extending out past the circle of beings that go on this journey. When you find this YouTube video recorded and you close your eyes and go on this journey, you're going to actually be in the experience. It may take a while for you to bring back certainty and confidence that you've had it back on Earth, but this will happen. So he's putting this energy field out that surrounds us in a sphere of this very fine white golden light. Now, when you look around you in space, outside of Earth's negative atmosphere, you see that black area of space you would have normally seen in a Hubble telescope image of the galaxy that appears black to you is a white golden light everywhere, above you, below you, to the side, out in space. And you can look into the center of the galaxy and see all these massive billions of stars, big, giant, blue, hot, white, young stars, yellow suns like our sun, big, giant red suns, and what are called red dwarfs. Astrophysicists and people on Earth today understand now, recently, that many of the sun systems out in our galaxy are not like our single sun. They're binary or trinary sun systems. That means there's more than one sun revolving around each other that planets circle. This has an effect on how different races are evolved. Still can be human, but they might be Asian looking, or African American looking, or Caucasian looking, etc. This is why I say to you, Earth's human population did not evolve on this planet. They did not come from primordial soup out of amoebas that evolved into fish that started walking on flippers and stood upright, then became dinosaurs and birds, and then they all died and everybody was just here. No. Those types of mammalian animal life and humans evolved in other world systems long ago and were brought to Earth when it was capable of supporting life. It is part of how the universe is populated. Human beings are one of the oldest races in creation. They didn't even evolve originally in the Milky Way galaxy, so figure it out. If you're a spherical being in the image of the source or prime creator, supreme being, and you aren't a physical body in that image, then how old are you? Because the origin of that place where we came from existed before time and space was even created. And people blab this stuff out of their mouths without knowing what they're doing, and they say soul's eternal. It's a concept for them, a belief, but they don't remember. It's not a knowing experience for them. And it needs to be that. So enlightenment really isn't about finding something in the future that you'll somehow acquire some higher power. No, it's about remembering and recalling what you were made to forget before you were born on this planet. And then going further from there. This, of course, means that something awful happened to people out in the universe before they were on this earth that caused them to be in terror about remembering who and what they are. We are destined, each one of us, to be a conscious co-creator with the source behind all life. People have been asking forever, what's the purpose of existence? Why do I live? How come I'm running a human body? How did I get to be on Earth? Where did I come from? Where, and more importantly, where am I going? The answer is very simple. We are, in fact, meant to be co-creators with the source behind all life. And this means we have to utilize the creative imagination, our ability to see into the multiverse and know things through the omnipresent living power that supports it, because that is the way it's done. We have the capability to remember this. Under certain situations and conditions, with the help of other masterful beings, mostly not on Earth, we can recall or remember what we've been made to forget. This is primarily what my work is about and why I'm on Earth at this time. There are others on Earth like this too, mostly remaining silent in the background for now. When you see yourself as a spherical being hovering in space around Turelian, there are other master teachers here. We've been on many of these radio show journeys, and I've introduced many of them and recorded these journeys so that you could play back the journeys later and get the experience you seek. Remember this: wrong beliefs or limiting beliefs and fear will keep you from having direct knowing experience awakened. So when you go through the techniques that are in the back of the Say Raise Agenda published book, they work with this for each chapter regarding the hidden truth that's revealed in the book. And in the Parallel Time Trilogy books, there are 4 books published. And they are doorways or channels for this awakening energy. That is why they were published on Earth. It took a lifetime of work to put them here, against insurmountable odds. And I had help. Turelian was one of those beings that helped me. I'm introducing you to him here, outside of Earth's atmosphere, where you can have the freedom to not be terrorized to meet such a being. Because the way this works, all of your fears subconsciously have been turned off and left back with your body on Earth. And this is from members of a galactic alliance of world system beings that come here with Turelian and help to make sure they stay off, so that you, floating above the Earth as a being, can begin to remember without the negative influence of fear getting in the way for a short time. There's one master teacher named Ramu who's standing in an inner circle around us and around Turelian, who has a maroon-colored robe, about 6 feet tall, short cropped black beard and short curly hair, coal black eyes, looks like he's from Tibet. Little simple rope with a maroon robe and sandals. And he's holding a staff, and it's made of a polished quartz. It's about 6 feet tall, and on top of it has a cross with a vertical oval hole in the center, which is like, in Earth terms, like the symbol for the Ankh, or Egyptian symbol for eternal life. So he uses this as a calling card. He's always carrying it, and it's a kind of a device. He's a master teacher. He is stationed on Earth in a third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. That's right. Earth is like layers of an onion. There are different dimensional levels of it. The one you're on has a barren moon with no atmosphere. 2 levels up, it is a no polar ice caps, 2 continents center over the equator, and a moon that's alive with oxygen atmosphere and water and dome cities circling the planet, turning on its axis, which our moon does not. So when you're from Turelian, when you look at the Earth, you see the polar ice caps. You see the barren moon with meteor craters moving around the planet, but it does not turn at all on its axis. Always shows us the same face. And the sun in the distance, billions of stars all around us. And the field of energy between those stars, the Earth, the moon, and the sun, is a white golden light. What people on Earth in recent years have called zero-point or toroidal energy, the energy of the universe, is not molecular or atomic at all. It's not molecules. It's not DNA. It's not the explosive nature of the sun. It is energy behind that those things float in. A galaxy turns on its axis to create an electromagnetic field that allows it to float in this omnipresent living energy field. And it's just right outside the atmosphere of Earth, this heavenly energy that people seek. It flows through the atmosphere of Earth, but people's fears block it from them being consciously aware of it. It still supports them anyway. So he's living on Earth in a higher parallel dimension, is able to move between dimensions as a master teacher. Another being called Opelum is about 6 feet tall. He's standing over to the right of Ambassador Trillian. Human, pale blue skin, long jet black hair to his shoulders and emerald green eyes, slightly grayed temples, looks to be about 40. He's ageless. He's showing you a physical body form that he has on his planet. And that planet is called Oceania, and it's on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. It is 4 times bigger than Earth, mostly water covered, with a couple of small islands near the equator. And they have giant dome cities with pyramids in them and transport vacuum sealed tubes that connect to the bottom of its oceans. This is a very evolved culture. And he's lifting his neck up and he's showing you his hands because there are little webs between his fingers. Little gill slits high up in the back of his neck, 3 on each side, that wouldn't be noticeable unless he lifted his neck up. And he is Master Opelum. And he's the leader of the Oceanian race. They have the most advanced crystalline-based technology science in the galaxy. There are others. So he's simply showing you that although he has human stock, some of which came from Ambassador Trillian's Sayre's race long ago, their race can breathe underwater on land. And they have pale blue skin, like moonstone, very beautiful. These are the kind of beings that you can meet with when you're out of your body. You do it every night anyway, so you might as well start to become aware of this. When the body ceases to function, it has a death, what we call death on Earth. You leave that body for the final time and go on your journey to where you're aware of that you can journey to. If you're not aware of all these other realities in what you call God, then you won't experience that when you leave that body. And your sense of fear may drive you to go back, seek out a baby body and reborn with no memory again. That kind of thing ceases to be your experience when you begin to embrace a bigger eternal presence. Beings from the stars can help us understand this. They're not interested in dissolving religions on Earth or governments. They're interested in enlightening and making aware without fear the beings that are in those things so they can cooperate together properly. There are other beings here from the Galactic Alliance, and it is a galactic alliance of worlds located near the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy, very far away from Earth. And it is, too, a planet 4 times bigger than Earth. It has no polar ice caps. And it has 3 moons the size of Earth with no polar ice caps and dome cities. That planetary system circles a trinary sun system. Big blue-white giant in the center, a smaller yellow sun circling it, and a red dwarf circling it. The planets circle all 3 suns. Thus, these beings do not have polar ice caps on their planets, and they evolve in more expanded ways than we are on Earth capable of doing, because we have a single sun and a barren moon that does not turn on its axis, which is virtually impossible. The influence of the gravity of Earth and Sun and other planetary bodies should make it at least turn. But something happened to the moon that created it to be barren, and it does not turn at all. That's artificial. It's not meant to be like that forever. And we have a choice when we're out in space, hovering around with masterful beings. You'll notice there's a male and a female, man and woman about 30, dressed very nicely, that look human, standing next to each one of you that goes on this recorded journey. They are from what's called the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. It is not a federation. That came from Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry, and people borrowed that term because they didn't have any other way to term it any other way. So they just project upon it a federation, but it is not that. As far as I know, there's no federation of planets out there. The terms are different. This man and woman come from this galactic alliance. They're very well trained, very advanced, and it is those two, that are helping keep your fears shut off while you're on this journey. They're turned off back with the sleeping body back on Earth for now. At some point, they can assist each one of you to be free of subconscious negative influences. The technology to do that is not new. It's just not openly revealed on Earth yet. It does not have to be developed. It has to be given to us. From here, we can choose to go back down the past time track to ancient Lemuria and Atlantis, or to cultures that existed back many millions of years on Earth that people don't know existed at all. We can go visit Maldek, which was a planet of 3 basic races that was destroyed, blown apart, a long time ago in solar system history, which is where the asteroid field came from. It did not come from somehow a bunch of stray matter just decided to form itself in the orbit of a planet and speed around the sun, all broken up. No. That was a planet that was destroyed long ago. We can go to a Galactic Alliance Emerald Star Cruiser, which is stationed in the ice rings that make up the rings of the planet Saturn. It's stationed there permanently for now. It's a mile long, down in the ice, has an electromagnetic or anti-gravitic blue energy field around it, so ice chunks don't hit the hull, and it's just stationarily hovering there. It has a bridge control window on the front side and an identical one on the other side. And it's stationarily pointing towards the planet. You can see an image of what this looks like in the 30-foot in diameter disc-shaped ships that are entering the launch bay through the midsection of the ship on the front cover of the Sayre's Agenda book. And this Sayre's Agenda book has a special technique section in it, one for the prologue and one different technique for each chapter to help you remember what's revealed in this book. In the back is a glossary of characters and terms with phonetic pronunciations. So when you're introduced to extraterrestrial terms and technology, you can understand how they're pronounced. We are endeavoring now to get this book translated into the Thai language from English. It's a very expensive process to do it right. We're going to have it published in Spanish and Japanese as well. And for that to happen, some assistance from other beings on Earth will come into this picture. They already are. And we have a choice. We can go visit the beings that man that spacecraft parked inside the ice rings of the rings of Saturn. And maybe we should do that. We could go into higher dimensions. We could go to planet Oceania. We could go to any number of world systems. And we have been to them on other journeys like this in these radio show presentations. When any of you out in space begin to get this omnipresent energy communicating with you, because it's all-knowing in a sense, then you begin to have the experience of the freedom from fear. Fear of nuclear war goes away because people on Earth are not allowed to do that. And that's not because of their choices, because when they attempted it a number of times since World War II, the launch computers in several countries were simply shut down from space. Nobody tried to take over the earth or dominate government. They just said, you can't do that. Do whatever you want, but not that. When you know this, you become free from fear of the present and the future. And when you can turn that stuff off, you can know anything and explore anywhere in the multidimensional universe you can imagine. So it takes beings who know how to imagine this stuff to share that with beings who have forgotten this, to help them wake it up. There's a planet called Zetranami 1 located near the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy, not in it. That is a channel of light and sound and white golden light that's up and down through a shaft that runs through the center, around which the galaxy of stars spins. And that shaft of light connects to other dimensions. It's like a concentric generator that can take energy from a higher dimension and regulate it down to support the one we're used to, all the way to planet Earth. That planet is 4 times bigger than Earth and has 3 moons circling it the size of Earth as well. And it too circles around a trinary sun system. If you were on that world looking up into the sky in daytime, you would see beautiful stars very close to it and other planetary systems and nebula, because star systems are so much more concentrated as you get closer to the center of the galaxy. So humans and other beings that work in the Galactic Alliance, based on that world, 5,000 members represent a Galactic Alliance Council from representing over 450, almost 500 million spacefaring races that just exist in about half of the galaxy. There is a planet called Xantronamon 1, which is on the other side of the galaxy and is governed by very advanced races that are kind, and they regulate a little more than half the galaxy. And these 2 organizations work together now. Let's go visit the Emerald Star Cruiser. So there's Turellian standing in the middle of us, and the spherical being, the Atme, is just like you have one hovering above a body form you're showing each of us. And he's going to move us like planets around the center of a sun, speeding through the universe until we suddenly look down and realize we are hovering up above the ice rings of the planet Saturn. The energy we move through, this zero-point or toroidal energy, has no limits of time and space. It is not limited by the speed of light or gravity. As beings made of this, we have this ability. When you look down on the ship, you can see it's a mile-long, cylindrical, slight and flattened top. It has these oval observation windows just around the central section of the hull, circling it. About every 6 feet apart, there's this 6-foot wide oval, convexly outward, curved outward, and you can see beings looking out these windows. The front of the ship, pointing towards us, has a curved bridge control window area. You can see that on the front of the Sayre's Agenda book. That's all original artwork, didn't come from the internet. In the 4 books that are published, actual actors and costume were utilized to create the images on the covers. So when you're looking at this bridge control room, you can see 6 disc-shaped ships flowing towards or moving through space near the central hall. And then you see the image of a ship in front, which is disc-shaped with 3 semi-spheric pods in the bottom. The blue anti-gravitic light around them, just like the hull of the parent ship. And you see them go up and become somewhat transparent. They move right through the molecular matter of the hull, and you can see an opening in it at that time, and they lower the ship molecular time rate down, and there's a big hangar bay the size of a football stadium, and they land next to other ships. So they actually pass through the metal hull by raising their molecular time rate, the antigravitic field around the craft. They don't have open launch bay doors in this type of ship. It's sealed. There's a bridge control room on the other end you can't see, facing the planet Saturn. These ships are designed to move through interdimensional portals or doorways to cover great vast areas of space. They can move across the galaxy very quickly. The universe, as people on Earth are beginning to understand, was set up with doorways or portals or concentric generators between one molecular time rate, a higher, and a lower one. So there are natural openings in creation, and more advanced races have mapped these out. They know how to circumnavigate through them. People on Earth will become aware of this one day. The doorways between dimensions are guarded by who we call the mechanics of creation. Silent mentors. They're vast beings that have no limits, that basically their job is to maintain the creation as we see it. A moon circling a planet circling a sun, suns circling bigger suns, the bigger suns circling the center of a galaxy, galaxies moving through the vastness of outer space. And there are hundreds of billions or more of them. We're going to move down towards this, about a third of the way back of the hull, on the right side of the ship, and then we're going to pass right inside the hull. And when you get inside there, you're going to look around, you're going to see Turellian standing 18 feet tall in a 65-foot high ceiling, just the upper half of the ship. And it's still far up to the ceiling above him. And he's standing on plush blue carpet. And all of us are doing the same, and we're visiting with 300 of the ship's personnel. There are low to the ground, blue glass-topped oval tables with egg-shaped blue cushioned chairs, and there are beings sitting in them. And some of the ship's personnel that look humanoid, different colored hair, bigger, larger eyes, some with no hair, they're all humanoid from different races. And there's a couple sitting in behind a glass-top table that are standing up about 6 feet tall, a little lower. One's a man, looks to be about 40, a woman, his wife, are co-commanders of this Emerald Star cruiser. They are from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. This is not yet known, for the most part, amongst extraterrestrial and disclosure groups on Earth. It's way farther into the galaxy where it's located, and they have a direct involvement in helping to make a transition for Earth people into a new reality. That's the best way I have of putting it. And so this man and woman who are elegantly dressed, you'll see on the right chest area a symbol. And it's a silvery galaxy with a golden pyramid with a quartz cap hovering above the silvery galaxy, and above it, 3 blue stars in triangular formation. This is a Galactic Alliance symbol. It's on the single-piece garments of all the personnel. So any of you on this journey will find that you can hear them talking to you in your head. Remember, this body form you've got here looks just like you, but it's pure energy, and they can see it. They can also see you, the spherical being, hovering above it. And you can see hovering above all 300 of them, including the commanders, a spherical entity. Turellian is smiling, standing behind us all. They see us. Even though these are physical bodies you're looking at on this ship, they see us as if we were there. So these ship's personnel, men and women, will come up to each of you on this journey and talk with you for a few moments. They'll welcome you here, point out the surroundings. You look behind you, and it's hundreds of feet. It goes all the way down the length of the ship, these observation rooms. And you can see through the oval windows the gas giant Saturn and the moon, the ice rings that this ship is in. You can see ice chunks above and outside and below us. And then you can see the stars of space just beyond that, because these ice rings are only about 1.5 miles thick. This ship's present in our solar system and a base that was built in 1908 inside Mount Shasta in Northern California, and others, are the reason we have not had a nuclear war. The only reason. At some point, this will be disclosed to people on Earth. You can ask the commander and his wife whatever you wish. But you have to be open, peaceful, and respectful to hear their answer. They will tell each of you that you are welcome to come back here through the creative imagination, first by meeting Torellian outside of Earth's atmosphere, outside of it, and then going with him or another master teacher like Ramu Pelham, and come here and visit with these people again and again. So you begin to acquire an awakening knowledge and remember how these ships work, because all of you once knew this. Remember that it was stated that no human being evolved on Earth? This means that all of the beings that run bodies on Earth did not originate on planet Earth. When you listen in this plush blue carpet, you can feel a vibration, a kind of a deep humming sound all around you. That isn't coming from the ship. That is the primordial, omnipresent living energy of the hue, or what we call the hue expansion ray. Expansion ray because a new consciousness is flowing through this thing people call divine spirit that didn't exist in it before. And it is going about making certain changes for the first time. It's easier to hear and understand this far away from Earth. When you look again, you find that you are hovering around Torellian outside of Earth's atmosphere. You see the polar ice caps, the barren moon, and the sun in the distance, and stars all around us, and a white golden field of energy humming around you. And then you find yourself hovering above your body back on Earth, near the ceiling. And all that I'm asking you to do is allow the memory of this journey to be stored, not in your brain, but in an electromagnetic or toroidal energy field that surrounds you, the being hovering near the ceiling, and your body, what people call the aura. It's stored there. So when you look out during the day, you can remember the experience and see this off in the universe. This is what you would call daydreaming. Remember this, daydreaming is actually seeing somewhere else than where you are. The energy that passes through you for you to remember this experience continues out through the planet and out in space. Eventually winds up in the core of the Milky Way galaxy and is sent upward into other realities. It's like the infinity sign. It's always in movement. So when you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you, Scott. And everyone, I think we all have this question in mind, what we are doing here on Earth, and we have so many problems in life. Actually, from my experience and from Scott's work, the problems happened before we were born on this planet Earth. And his work, can help us to remember what is the cause of the problem, and then can help us to change a new way of co-creating, to change the whole planet Earth.
This is the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy. It's a hardback version. If you look at this image, that's what you look like. That is not one of these. And it runs one of these. This is what you look like in the image of Source. This is above the fifth dimension, beyond the void. And we have the ability to travel there, but not in one of these. These are three main characters in this little Dren creature named Etta that's on the front cover. These are actual actors in costume, including the bad guy here, my picture, that were hired in order to portray these characters, because the best published books have real actors on them. There's Kalem's ship, disc-shaped like we saw near the planet Saturn. This is a doorway opening into the fifth reality above what people call the void. And these characters, this master teacher, there's Ramu with his staff, introducing them to Prime Creator, the source, for the first time. But what these people don't realize yet is that they have one of these hovering above their head. So you'll find that in the Emerald Doorway. The second book in that trilogy is called Guardians of the Ancient One. That's not a very good image of it. There it is. Goes there.
Ah,
And you'll find out what this is all about when you explore it, which has to do more with Galactic Alliance involvement in solar system history on Earth starting 100,000 years ago. A little bit before that, before the poles of the planet flipped and destroyed land masses and rose new ones up. You find that out. And the third book, Journey to the Center of the Universe, is not about going to the center of the physical universe. It's about going to the center of creation, far above the physical worlds. The screenplays are written for these to make motion pictures out of them because the technology in the film industry exists today where we can take people anywhere, completely realistically, on any level, in any dimension.
each of his book really help you to recall who you are and to remember many things in even your past life and far beyond that.
There's the planet Saturn, the ice rings where we went. There's the ship, the scout ships. This is a guy named Mark Sanfield. He's a solo camping trip in the high Sierras. He's about to be killed by these guys who are not human, and he's beamed aboard a scout craft and his life is saved. And then he starts to remember he's not originally from Earth. So you're going to find this out is true for many of you on this planet. And the techniques in the back to help you remember are here, and a glossary of characters and terms as well. So that's in the Savior's Agenda book, and that can be applied to all the books. So you're going to find this is very unique for a published book because books like this don't have glossaries of characters and terms in the back and technique sections. This one does. So you're going to find that very useful and practical.
Everyone who watch our show, Scott, can be part of co-creating to shift the planet Earth, by donate, to help us to make this book in many different languages to help people to awaken, to recall who they are by going to Scott's website, and then you just click on donate button.
Yeah, you can do that. You're going to find, though, when you donate, it isn't about me making a living. It's not about me getting money from you. The money that's donated goes to produce these books in other languages and to produce feature films, to get them into production. It's not a joke. It's all been done. The screenplays are written. The books are published all worldwide. We're at the crest of a great change for this planet. And so these books and the films that are based on them, the feature film screenplays, are set to happen in a certain time frame. And if you donate to it, and if you wish to, you're going to be inspired to do it. I won't have to tell anybody to do it. And they'll be benefiting themselves personally by contributing to what this represents to help transform the planet with the help of beings from other worlds instead of allowing it to be destroyed. And that'll be part of your experience, but it's up to each one of you to have the courage to choose to move forward or stay where you are. If you choose to move forward in the hue, you will get protection and help that you seek. But this has to be something that you experience for yourself. That makes all the difference. So, Perry, I will make sure that this gets up on your, as usual, recording of the journey. So the websites are there and they can go find this stuff. They won't have time for it.
Okay. Everyone, I can confirm only from my experience by reading his 4 books, go on many journeys. It really helps me to recall who I am, not only on this planet Earth, many lifetimes on this planet Earth, we might forget what we have done, but far beyond that, even planets up beyond planets, there's something, there are ways that you can remember by going through these books, and go on journeys. And on website too.
The main thing is for people to have their own direct experience with remembering. That's how these things are designed. You don't have to take my word for it. Just go find it out for yourself.
Correct.
Well, thank you, Perry, for having the courage to do this.
Yes, thank you everyone for watching. Please thumb up, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to get his books to read, and go on his website too. Thank you, and see you again next time.
Oh, when you go to the websites, there's a book link at the top, and it has all the links to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or iBooks, wherever you in ebook form or paperback or hardbook. You don't have to hunt for them. The proper links are provided.
Okay. Thank you. See you next
I'll
time.
say what I always say. See y'all later.